Welcome back to the Collinsville Regional Top Cut. It is Jake and Rosemary back on the desk, and we are about to bring you the fourth quarterfinals matchup that we have today.
Yes, this is going to be a really fun match. We got Whitney Johnson, who we saw round 1 yesterday, and we also have Jake Magier, who we saw round 6. And so, both of these players had a great day yesterday. They both made top cut. They've both been waiting for a couple hours to play this match. I'm sure they want to get it over with, and we are ready. We are very ready to see them play it too.
Yeah, and so something a little bit interesting about where these players are standing for top cut. Whitney is at the first seed, went 7-0 yesterday, and Jake just barely slid in there in the 8th seed, going 5-2.
Yeah, so Whitney still has yet to drop a set this tournament. Obviously, hoping to continue that trend and finish out a 10-0 to win this title. But he's got to face Jake, who we saw him play very well in stream yesterday. We saw that double redirection with the Xerneas and the Volcarona Amoonguss, and so he's gotta get through Jake's pretty tricky defenses here, because Xerneas next to something that can redirect attacks, pretty annoying. Xerneas next to two things that can redirect attacks, even more annoying.
That's very true. But what's not annoying? Whitney's amazing accomplishments that we're going to be able to see on that screen. That pair with that Amoonguss that we're seeing in the team composition, but we'll get there. So look at those accomplishments, though. We've seen Whitney around for a couple of years now, and there's a lot to show for it.
Absolutely, yeah. Back in 2015, he had a really good tournament at Kansas City, making top 4 of that regional before losing to the eventual champion. He's also gotten some points from regionals this year. He went to Memphis and got top 16. He went to Roanoke and got top 32. I think mainly he's been traveling around with his brother, who is actually doing very well in the senior. I forget if he's a junior or senior, but he's one of those lower divisions. Now he actually earned a trip to Australia, so he got to accompany his brother to Melbourne and play at International. So he's been having a great time with Pokemon recently, and it's showing because he's been doing very well here today.
Oh, yeah. 2019 just seems to be his year. And Jake has been doing a lot as well. Has been around the scene for a while as well. Mass regional top 32 in 2015.
Yeah, so not the greatest resume from Jake, but he's been around for a while. Everyone knows him. He's a really great guy, and so it's been really cool to see him finally break through this regional ceiling where he's finally in top cut. And so now he's got that top cut under his belt. He's got more experience. Hopefully this leads to more success for him, not only today but in the future as well. And personally, I'm a little bit biased because I love seeing Jake M's in top cuts of regionals.
You guys had a great interview yesterday, so I absolutely believe you when you say that Jake is a phenomenal person. I think Whitney had a great time behind the desk as well when we got a chance to interview him. So it's going to be a great matchup between two great people. I can't wait.
That's going to be really fun. I know both of these guys are, great people. They're also characters,
sweethearts,
and they're just fun to be around.
Yeah.
They both had really fun interviews yesterday, and so no matter what happens here, we're gonna have a pretty great guy in top 4, both off the field and on the field.
And remember, because they made it to top 8, they're all taking home some money.
Absolutely.
And so we've already seen some of the placements so far. We do have 3 players that are going to be in that $250 bracket and also taking home 100 championship points. So it's just kind of a matter of time between who we find out, if it's going to be Whitney or Jake filling out that 4th spot.
Yep, one of them is going to walk away with 250 and 100 points. One of them will walk away with at least double that money-wise and a little bit more points. But either way, like we've been saying, this is no chump change. $250 if anything, covers travel costs, so you get to come to regional for free. But I know Whitney's a local, so he drove, so he's going to make money off of this. Jake, I think he had to fly to this tournament, but still, any money is great money, and so I would be very happy to be walking away with that same amount.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't utilize it, if you are local, because we have a lot of local players here at the Collinsville Regional that are in top cut. So whatever money that they walk away from, that's going to be a great kind of just initiator for another tournament, getting to another place, and just one step closer to that NA Internat's invite or World's invite.
Exactly. So we are ready for team preview here. Once again, we've got Whitney's team. He's got that Xerneas, Amoonguss, Kyogre, Excelgor, Tapu Lele, and Kartana. And now we have Jake with the Xerneas, Groudon, Incineroar, Amoonguss, Volcarona, and Tapu Koko. And I know that this Tapu Koko might not have as interesting as a moveset as we saw last round. There might not be any quick attacks, but it's still a Tapu Koko nonetheless.
Yeah, and Tapu Koko, the Lowland Guardians just do a lot of work in this meta. You don't see Tapu Bulu, like, ever.
No.
But you do see Lele, Koko, and Feeny making their mark in the 2019 meta.
Absolutely. All three of those have, very important spots. Tapu Koko and Tapu Feeny both prevent sleep. That's a very important thing that they do.
True.
Blocking Spore from Incineroar. What if Incineroar got Spore? That would be something.
I would quit.
I know. No, blocking Spore from Amoonguss. Sleep Powder from Venusaur. Lovely Kiss from Smeargle. Tapu Lele preventing priority attacks for its grounded partners is really nice, especially with a Pokemon like Xerneas, which likes having that speed advantage. And Tapu Bulu just does his best. And sometimes his best just isn't good enough.
No, it's not good enough to make the team, that's for sure.
He can sit on the sidelines and cheer his friends on.
That's very true, and their friends are going to be joining the field now. On Whitney's side, we do have that Excelgor and the Tapu Lele, and on Jake's side, going to be matching that with a Alolan Guardian of his own in the Tapu Koko, and of course, Aaron Trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake and Aaron Trailer, I know, are very good friends.
Yeah.
So, kind of cool to see Jake giving a nod to his friends on stream there. But one thing that we do see is that the Tapu Lele's Psychic Surge activated before the Electric Surge from Tapu Koko, and so the Electric Terrain will remain on the field, and that does reveal that the Tapu Lele is holding that Choice Scarf item. One thing that is interesting enough to note, though, is that even though the Psychic Surge is gone, the Excelgor still got the Psychic Seed boost, and so its Unburden ability is not going nowhere. It's the fastest thing on the field, even faster than the Scarf Lele, and it will have the option to go for something like an Acid Spray, lower Special Defense, or a Final Gambit to take a knockout.
And you're going to see that Jake does not want to stick around to find out exactly how powerful that Excelgor is. That is going to be a switch into the Amoonguss for Jake's side. And Tapu Koko taking just a bit of damage there. But wow, a double into the Koko is not going to be enough.
No, it's not. That is definitely Assault Vest Tapu Koko. And he's going to be able to fire off a big Brave Bird into this Excelgor, likely knocking itself out in the process with that recoil damage. But he is able to take that knockout turn one. So. What looked to be a pretty bad turn right off the bat, turned into a decent trade for Jake, because it looked like that Acid Spray Moonblast was going to be able to take the knockout, but that Assault Vest coming in so handy.
Yeah, that Assault Vest is just, I love that item. I feel like
it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it packs a really nice punch, a really good defensive mechanism. But you know what else is a good defensive mechanism? An Amoonguss. I love the redirection that you can kind of do with that Pokemon, and Whitney's going to take full advantage of that here.
Yeah, so the Amoonguss coming in for Whitney to face down the Xerneas for Jake. The Tapu Lele is not in a great position right now. It's locked into Moonblast. If it redirects into the Amoonguss thanks to that Rage Powder, it'll be doing minimal damage. It would do a sizable amount to Xerneas thanks to that Fairy Aura, which affects all Pokemon on the field, not just Jake's side. But it would be kind of foolish for Jake to kind of let that happen. So I imagine a Rage Powder is coming out, unless he wants to kind of predict this switch. But Whitney's Tapu Lele really doesn't have much to do right now.
Nope. And you're going to see that Whitney knows that too.
Right.
So that Tapu Lele is going to be leaving the field, that Kyogre coming in order to change the weather now. So that's going to be a lot of power going in Whitney's favor. But Jake has to respond, and that response is going to be a Dazzling Gleam, hitting both Pokemon, really just doing chip damage here. But that Grass Knot,
very smart.
Wow, that Grass Knot onto the Kyogre, still not enough.
Not enough, but that's huge, because now the Kyogre's Water Spout is considerably weakened. Any attack from either Amoonguss or Xerneas will be able to finish it off. And the Dazzling Gleam plus Grass Knot, very, very smart play from Jake, because he knew that this Amoonguss on Whitney's side likely carried that Clear Smog, so if he did decide to go for Geomancy, that turn would have been negated immediately. And so, kind of reading that Tapu Lele switch, like I said earlier, and punishing Whitney's Kyogre switch in very hard.
Absolutely a punishment, because that Kyogre is in a very close knockout range to anything. I think even at this point, the Dazzling Gleam coming out from Jake Xerneas might be enough to finish it off.
Absolutely, yeah. We saw Dazzling Gleam do a sizable chunk. Not a whole lot, but this Kyogre is at very low health, and so any attack that Xerneas will go for will be able to knock it out. The Amoonguss on Jake's side doesn't really have much to do other than potentially go for attacks in this turn, because the electric terrain is up, which will prevent Spore, but it no longer is.
Yeah, that Psychic Surge going to come back out now as we see a Tapu Lele switch back in, even though you did mention wasn't a whole lot going on with that Tapu Lele, but you got to preserve your Kyogre for future turns because it absolutely would have knocked it out.
So a smart play on Whitney's end there. He switches out the Kyogre to preserve it. We did see Jake's Amoonguss go for Spore into Whitney's Amoonguss. Interesting play, I guess, trying to read this switch on the opposite slot. But since the Tapu Lele switched in and Whitney's Amoonguss did go for Spore on that Xerneas, it will connect. And so now this Tapu Lele is in a bit better position. It's able to fire off a powerful Psychic type attack, which likely would knock out Amoonguss thanks to that Psychic terrain. Even might knock out this Xerneas from this range as well. So that was a better play or a better turn for Whitney, especially considering it took so much damage on Kyogre. It couldn't look like he was falling behind, but a great play to turn it around now.
Yeah, we'll see whether or not this is going to be enough of a swing turn for Whitney to be able to stay in the game here. Jake has been doing a phenomenal job of protecting his damage dealers so far, and Whitney just hasn't been able to do that.
Yeah, no, he let his damage dealers take a lot of damage early on, but it looks like Jake has an answer to this, Kyogre as well with this Groudon.
That Groudon is going to reset the weather yet again. Whitney still has that Kyogre in the back, though, so if he wants to get that back up and running, he absolutely can. But that is going to be so close to death for that Xerneas. And that Clear Smog, the double into it is going to be enough to knock it out.
Yeah, a smart play from Whitney. He knew that Xerneas couldn't wake up this turn, so if he targets that slot with Psychic, he either gets a lot of damage off on Xerneas, or it gets redirected into that Amoonguss thanks to Rage Powder, likely resulting in a knockout there. And so I think that was definitely the right target for that Psychic. The Clear Smog able to pick it off as well, and so now this Groudon is kind of in a predicament here because it really doesn't want to take a powerful Psychic from this Tapu Lele, but if he wants to redirect it, he's likely losing Amoonguss as well, and so it's kind of a tough spot here for Jake.
Yeah, he has no options right now because these are the last two Pokemon. And
ooh,
wow! Ooh, and a Pinch Berry on top of it.
That's
oh my goodness.
Be important.
That is important. Wow.
Precipice Blades here are going to come out. Likely going to be able to take out this Tapu Lele from its low health. Barely missing the KO on Amoonguss, though.
Yeah, so Tapu Lele is going to go out. The Spore... I think the Spore was probably trying to find its mark on Tapu Lele or a Switchin, but it is not going to be either of those. That Grass not going to do about half to that Groudon. So now we're in the last 4 Pokemon of this match.
We are, and the Kyogre coming in means that Whitney will have the weather control. His rain will be up for the remainder of this game. The Spore from Jake might look like a bit of a pointless move, but it covered the Precipice Blades possibly missing the Tapu Lele or missing the Kyogre on the switch-in, and it really, like the Clear Smog from the Jake's Amoonguss really wouldn't have done much to Whitney's anyway, and so the Spore is a completely fine play there. He really didn't miss much. But now it's kind of a bit of a read on either end, so you could either try to read and protect from Jake's Groudon and go for protecting your own Kyogre to avoid getting knocked out by Grass Knot. You could, try to read Whitney's protect. I don't know. This comes down to a little bit of a mind game because both of these players, need to get this turn right in order to have a chance to win this game.
This has me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
Because this is what we were talking about. The last couple of games might decide this, but a Z move is going to be one of the last choices made here by Whitney's Kyogre. It is a Z move.
Yeah, it is a Normalium Z.
It is
Z Psycho.
Wow.
Interesting. So there were no stat changes to Psych up there. Oh, that's huge. That's a really big miss.
That miss. Oh my goodness, onto the Kyogre is going to mean that Whitney's chances might be alive here, but that Spore.
Right.
That might change things.
Yeah, it definitely changes things. I think Jake has this one, provided he just hits one Precipice Blades here. But that Z Psych Up, an interesting option. We do see the Xerneas on Whitney's team. And so likely that Psych Up is meant to combo with that Xerneas. You can, Geomancy with your Xerneas. Copy the stat changes with Psych Up, and the added bonus of Z Psych Up is that it heals you to full health, and so that's the only reason Whitney decided to click Psych Up on that turn. Obviously there were no stat changes he could be copying, but he did give himself a bit of a shot to take that game, but unfortunately the Spore was enough to steal it. Yeah,
if that Spore had missed, I think that we might be talking about a different
outcome. If Spore had somehow found a way to miss besides 100% accuracy, that would have been something. But I guess at that point, Jake's only way that he could lose is if he kept missing a bunch of Precipice Blades. Whitney likely would have needed a one-turn sleep to not get to it KO'd by Grass Knot and stuff. So that was pretty much sealed up for Jake at that point. So very well played. A bit of a back and forth there as well. That turn 1 especially, just a roller coaster. The Acid Spray Moonblast into missing the KO was pretty huge.
Yeah, that was big. We just have some big turns coming out from both of these players. You complimented Jake and Whitney kind of back and forth on some impressive gameplay, and it just meant that, it just means that these two players are very evenly matched right here. We're seeing top-tier gameplay.
Yeah, no, I don't think either player really made any large mistakes that game. It was very back and forth, and at the end, Jake just had the resources to close it out, whereas Whitney's Pokemon were just a little bit too damaged.
Well, we're going to see what adjustments, if any, are made for the second matchup between Whitney and Jake. So going into Game 2, we're actually going to see leads from Whitney's side going to be the exact same as Game 1. That Excelgor and that Tapu Lele taking the field, and Jake starting out in a little bit of a different way. We're going to see Amoonguss and Xerneas, so not going to see that Tapu Koko.
No,
maybe.
No Tapu Koko yet. The same lead from Whitney. I like this lead just because, Excelgor kind of forces your hand. You know that it has so many different options. We've seen the Acid Spray. I believe we saw Struggle Bug yesterday. They always run Final Gambit. They sometimes run Encore, and so even if you're Jake and you decide to go for something like a Rage Powder and a Geomancy this turn, you might lose the Moongus, but if you're going to be locked into Geomancy if Whitney is carrying that Encore, because Excelgor will still be faster than a boosted Xerneas.
Ooh, and Struggle Bug now onto both Pokemon, so despite the Rage Powder coming up from Amoonguss, it's gonna do just chip damage to both of them, but I think the damage isn't as important as the special attack drop.
Well, the special attack drop's important for the Xerneas, but the damage is really important on that Amoonguss because we saw Game 1. It did just barely hang on to that Psychic, so the Struggle Bug likely putting it in range, to not be knocked out by Psychic, and we do see Geomancy, but thanks to that Unburden ability, if Whitney does carry Encore, this Xerneas might be locked into a Geomancy for a couple more turns.
Ooh, we're going to find out.
We will.
No.
Excelgor ending this turn at full health is still pretty huge, though, because it does have that full-powered Final Gambit. Like we saw turn 1 of Game 1, Excelgor put in a lot of work with that Acid Spray, but it did immediately go down, and so now Whitney has a second turn with this full health Excelgor.
So Jake is going to be bringing in a replacement now. It is going to be the Tapu Koko. So we saw that early in Game 1. We're going to see it just a little bit later now in Game 2, resetting the battlefield terrain. And now I think we're about to find out whether or not this Excelgor is carrying Encore.
Right. So again, this is a bit of a read on either end because you could try to Encore the Xerneas into Geomancy, or you could read the Protect on Xerneas, thinking that Jake knows Excelgor carries Encore. And you could read the Protect and try to... Oh, well, looks like
we're wrong.
Right.
So we're just going to see an instant trade for both Whitney and Jake, that Excelgor and Tapu Koko going down completely. And a Moonblast now, going to find its mark on the Tapu. That's a double knockout here for Jake.
Yeah, that's an interesting turn because... there were so many options that could have happened there. If he just did decide to go for that Encore, he likely would have ended that turn in a bit better position because he would have still had, either his Tapu Lele or his Excelgor. The Koko likely would have been able to pick off one of them. But, the Xerneas now is sitting at +1 special attack, +2 speed, +2 special defense. We're down to a 2v2 at this point. But this Kartana really likes its position right now because it's going to be facing down this Groudon, which is weak to that Leaf Blade, and the Xerneas, which is weak to that Smart Strike that we saw in round 1 yesterday.
So Kartana might be the finishing move here that Whitney needs in order to tie up this series. But we're seeing here, too, something very important with the Kyogre and the Groudon. Kyogre's faster.
Kyogre's faster than Groudon, and Kyogre also has that Psych Up option. So even if the Xerneas decides to target Kyogre with that Moonblast, it likely won't be able to knock it out because it is only at +1. And even if he decides to protect that Xerneas, Psych Up goes through Protect. And so a Psych Up into the Xerneas here would be very beneficial for Whitney because he will steal those, speed, special defense, and special attack boosts, while this Kartana has a chance to, go for something like a Leaf Blade or a Smart Strike of its own.
Do you think that if we saw Jake to double into... Well, we're about to find out.
Right.
So we'll see whether or not there's going to be a double into either of these Pokemon. That is going to be a smart... just a Sash Pop there on the Kartana. But
and the Leaf Blade.
Wow.
Oh, that's huge. That's got to be a critical hit. It was.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is
Leaf
amazing.
Blade is well, that Leaf Blade crit meant that the Groudon... There's honestly zero chance the Groudon was going to go down to that Leaf Blade. The Groudon on this team that Jake's using very typically carries, a lot of training in bulk, and so, would have been able to take that Leaf Blade, possibly even eat its berry, get back to a decent stage of health, and be able to fire off something like a Precipice Blades, Fire Punch, Rock Tomb, Rock Slide, anything that would knock out this Kartana. And so now Jake has to worry about, this boosted Kyogre and this Kartana. You almost have to go for something like a Dazzling Gleam here just to make sure the Kartana doesn't Smart Strike you. But the advantage that Jake has here is that the sun is still up, so Kyogre's water attack still won't be doing a whole lot of damage.
Well, we're going to see a Detect from the Kartana, which means that that is going to be a Dazzling Gleam that does not find its KO on the Kartana, but it will do some damage to that Kyogre, but that Scald... Oh, wow. What?
That did nothing.
Hold on. What was that?
So Xerneas still has that +2 special defense boost. The Struggle Bug means that Kyogre and Xerneas are only at +1 special attack. And the sun is up, which halves the damage of Scald anyway. And so that was a comically low amount of health.
Yeah, that's not going to do a whole lot there for Whitney, but Whitney's actually going to be going for a water spout. Oh my goodness!
That did a very similarly comically low amount.
Does Jake have this?
I think he does.
Did Struggle Bug do it? I mean, I don't know.
Well, Struggle Bug, it came into play here because the Kyogre is also only at +1. Yeah, so they have the same exact stat boost. Whitney making a smart choice here to protect to try and stall with the sun. The Detect in the Kartana the earlier turn, also a smart play because it maintained that spread damage reduction on that Dazzling Gleam. So if Whitney let Kartana go down without detecting, the Kyogre would have taken a little bit more damage the next turn, just because he would have been able to Moonblast instead of Dazzling Gleam for a little bit stronger damage.
Well, that Moonblast is still not.
And the special attack drop, not enough, but that should be the ceiling blow.
Oh my goodness, and that's that's even
so
less. That's even less from that Moonblast drop. And I mean, we're not even going to see Whitney play this one out.
No, we won't. So Jake is very commandingly taking this top 8 match. Not sure if you heard that, but he is very excited to have won this game. He played that second game very well. He knew exactly what he needed to do to win. He, very smartly geomancied at the right time. He wasn't scared of that encore pressure from the Excelgor, and then he was just able to close out the game with Xerneas. Luckily, that Groudon being slower than Kyogre meant that the sun was up. Yeah. I think in that endgame, if rain was up instead of sun, that would have been a completely different story.
I mean, that's just kind of an unfortunate part of it. When you get down to the end and it is kind of a weather battle, it's whoever ends up having the slower time. That's just wherever the weather is, that's where you go. So unfortunate end there for Whitney. Is going to actually drop a set in this
curse of the first seed. It always happens.
I know, because it happened to you.
I don't want to talk about it.
I'm sure Whitney doesn't either. So we're not going to be talking to Whitney. We're going to be talking to the man of the hour. It's going to be Jake, and Jake again here on the desk in order to talk about that spectacular match, a 2-0 victory for Jake to bring him into the top 4. So we'll see you guys after this break.
And welcome back to Collinsville. We once again have the Jake M duo behind the desk. Congrats, Jake. Very happy for you to make top 4 at your first Top Cut at a regional.
Thank you very much. I prepped a lot with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think it showed. We played.
Absolutely.
Me and Whitney played in Swiss, and he pretty much did the opposite of what I just did to him.
No, I knew
felt amazing. He said to clown on him, so any disrespect I say, do not take it as me as a bad guy. He said to disrespect him.
I know Whitney can take it. He's a great guy too. But I was gonna say, I was talking to Whitney earlier today, and he said you guys did play yesterday.
Yeah.
So obviously that went better for you this time than last time.
Yes, it did.
What were some of the changes you made to how you played that match?
So I prepped a lot with my crew, my name Jeff Gaming crew. Shout outs to them. I'm not going to go one by one with name. If you saw me on stream, I think all the nicknames went up with everybody.
Yep.
So shout outs to those guys. I have to drop on my name, Jeff. But I prepped a lot with Aaron Trailer mainly. He prepped me a lot this morning, and as well as Babytron, Brendan Zhang, still, in my opinion, one of the top 5 players in America. And we decided with this Coco Xerneas lead, which you saw me lead with, and it puts him in a position of either I final gambit your Coco and take it out, or I set up a Geomancy for free and then bring in a Mungus, and I get to Rage Powder while I go crazy with Xerneas. And I decided to make a huge play and say, okay, he's going to target down my Xerneas here. I'm going to keep my Tapu Koko in, go for a Brave Bird, which I have not revealed on stream or to anybody. I don't think I clicked it once in Swiss. And I ran a little calculation beforehand. I knew it one-shot Excelgor. I watched that health bar go down, and that was the happiest I've ever been. As I got a Mungus out on the field, and I thought I was actually going to lose game 1. There were a few crucial moments where Whitney did not go for Spore. He went for Grass Knot or another move, and I was like, okay.
Cool.
And then in game 2, I thought I lost once Leaf Blade critical hit. And I was like, oh boy. This could not be a worse time for that. But Xerneas...
It's too good.
They call it the deer, but it's really the goat.
That was terrible.
I know. What do you expect from me, Jake? You've known me long enough.
No, the end of game 2 with that Leaf Blade crit was a pretty big deal, but then Rosemary and I kind of realized, like, the sun was up, Kyogre still has that special defense boost. Xerneas still has a special, they both do. It doesn't matter. But they were only at +1 special attack from that struggle bug, which I think ended up helping you a little bit, just because your Xerneas was taking, like, so little damage from those water moves.
I was so surprised. Like, I know I'm at +2 defense, or +2 special defense, but I really expected Kyogre to do a bit more damage, and it was just like, it was trickling a little leak.
That's what it was. Those skulls were just little leaks.
Can you give us the weather forecast on that Kyogre? No rain.
Not at all. Very sunny today. But yeah, that was a really fun match to watch. It very much felt like you knew exactly how to play that matchup. Especially, I'm sure playing him yesterday helped you out a little bit. And so big congratulations to you. Top 4, $500, lots of championship points. Do you have any shout-outs you'd like to do?
Yes, a lot. My entire family back home, I know all my cousins are watching. They're not in Pokemon, really cool. And I told them a long time ago if I could have a dream job, it would be a Pokemon Master. So, hey, here I am.
That's so cool.
My girlfriend, Hillary, for housing me and driving me here. Love you to death. Thank you so much for everything. My name Jeff Gaming Crew. My name Jeff. All of you guys, you got enough shout-outs on the stream. You got enough screen time. The rest of my family, my mom and dad, as always, my sister for always supporting me through this all, and everyone else who's given me support. Love you guys so much.
Well, that's great. Congrats again. We hope to see you do well in top 4.
Thank you.
We will be taking a quick 10-minute break right before top 4, and we'll be coming back with
last quick shout out. I'm sorry. Lex at, I can't say her handle on stream. For this plushie, and my friend Moako on Twitter for my hat and my shirt. I rep them everywhere. These are my lucky things.
Oh, cool.
I did wash them last night, I promise.
All right, well.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course. We'll be right back in 10 minutes for our first top 4 match here in Collinsville.